The political situations. They had neither a king to sustain their independence nor a supporter to seek advice from or depend upon in hardships. The rulers of Hijaz, however, were greatly esteemed and respected by the Arabs and were considered as rulers and servants of the religious center. Religion of Arabs. Most of the Arabs had compiled with the call of Ismail alayhi salam and professed the religion of his father Ibrahim alayhi salam. They had worshipped Allah, professed his oneness and followed his religion a long time until they forgot a part of what they had been reminded of, until the time when a chief of Quza'a, namely Amr bin Luhay, came from Syria. He brought with him an idol, Hubal, which he placed in the middle of Kaaba and summoned people to worship it. Thence to Hijaz, people of Mecca being custodian of not only the sacred house but the whole haram, as well as a great many idols bearing different names were introduced into the area. On the Prophet's conquest of Mecca, 360 idols were found, and around the Kaaba he broke them down and had them removed and burnt them. The Arabs believed that such idols or heathen gods would bring them nearer to Allah, lead them to Him and mediate Him for their sake. To which the Quran says, "We worship them only that they may bring us near to Allah." Chapter 39 verse 3. And again Allah says in Quran, "And they worship besides Allah things that hurt them not, nor profit them, and they say, these are our intercessors with Allah." Chapter 10 verse 18. People of pre-Islamic period, whilst believing in superstition, they still retain some of the Abrahamic traditions, such as devotion to the holy sanctuary. They ordered pilgrims coming from outside Mecca to circumambulate Al-Kaaba in Quraysh uniform clothes. But if they could not afford them, men were to do so in a state of nudity, and women were with only some piece of cloth to hide their groins. Allah says in this concern in Quran, "O children of Adam, take your adornments by wearing your clean clothes while praying and going around the Kaaba while doing the circumambulation, the tawaf." Quran 7, the verse 31. When the Meccans were in a pilgrimage consecration state, they would not enter their house through the doors but through holes they used to dig in back walls. They used to regard such behavior as deeds of piety and God-fearing. This practice was prohibited by Quran. It is not al-bir, piteous righteousness, etc., that you enter the houses from the back, but al-bir, who fears Allah. So enter houses through their proper doors and fear Allah that you may be successful. Chapter 2 verse 189. The migration of the Jews from the Palestine to the Arabia passed through two phases. Judaism was introduced into Yemen by someone called As'ad Abikar. He had gone to fight in Yathrib, and there he embraced Judaism and then went back, taking with him two rabbis from Bani Qurayza to instruct people of Yemen in his new religion. Christianity had first made its appearance in Arabia following the entry of Abyssinian, Ethiopians, and Roman colonists into the country. The Abyssinian colonization forces, in league with Christians' missions, entered Yemen as a retaliatory reaction for the iniquities of Dunawas, and started violently to propagate their faith ardently. They even built a church and called it Yemeni Al-Kaaba, with the aim of directing the Arabs' pilgrimage caravans towards Yemen. The religious situation. Such was the religious life of the Arabians before the advent of Islam. The role that the religion prevalent played was so marginal, in fact it was next to nothing. The polytheists who faked Abrahamism were so far detached from its precepts and totally oblivious of its eminent good manners. They plunged into disobedience and ungodliness and developed certain peculiar religious superstition that managed to leave a serious impact on the religious and social political life in the whole of Arabia. The aspects of pre-Islamic society. The social life of the Arabs. The status of the women among the nobility recorded an advanced degree of esteem. The women enjoyed a considerable portion of free will, and her decision would most often be enforced. She was so highly cherished that blood would be easily shed in defense and her honor. Pre-Islam Arabs had no limited number of wives. They could marry two sisters at the same time, or even the wife of their fathers if divorced or widowed. Divorce was a very great extent in the power of the husband. A man stood up in front of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and said, "O Prophet of Allah, that boy is my son. I had sexual intercourse with his mother in pre-Islamic period." The Prophet ﷺ said, "No claim in Islam for pre-Islamic affairs. The child is to be attributed to the one whose bed it was born, and stoning is the lot of fornicator." Their undisputed motto was, "Support your brother, whether he is an oppressor or oppressed." In its literal meaning, they disregarded the Islamic amendment which states that supporting an oppressor brother implies deterring him from transgression. The economic situation. Trade was the most common means of providing their needs of life. Industry was alien to the Arabian psychology. Inside Arabia, there was some sort of farming and stock breeding. Ethics. We cannot deny the pre-Islamic Arabs had such a large bulk of evil, admittedly vice and evils, utterly rejected by reasons, were rampant amongst the pre-Islam Arabs, but this could never screen off the surprise-provoking existence of highly praiseworthy virtues, of which we could deduce the following. Hospitality. They used to emulate one another at hospitality and take pride in it. Utmost pride in it. Keeping a covenant. For the Arab, to make a promise was to run into debt. He would never grudge the death of his children or destruction of his household just to uphold the deep-rooted tradition of the covenant keeping. The literature of that period is rich in history, highlighting this merit. Sense of honor and repudiation of injustice. Firm will and determination. Forbearance, perseverance, and mildness. Pure and simple Bedouin life. This is for today, with the next series that starts with family lineage of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Please subscribe the channel and share it so that most of us benefit from this. Thank you. Jazakumullahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.